Hello, my name is Paul Manford. I'm an Associate Director for KPMG in Brisbane. The current pandemic is putting severe strains on business life, and businesses in Australia are facing uncertainty and disruption. Given the global nature of the outbreak, there has been a huge disruption on those businesses that rely on international supply. As a country, Australia relies heavily on overseas markets for our goods and for imports of vital raw materials. This means Australian businesses will have to rethink how they manage their supply chain risks, both now and in the future. Moreover, recent trends have seen an increase in globalisation and interconnectedness. Businesses now rely more and more on global supplies and interconnected networks. Each part of this interconnected network faces disruption, supply shutdowns, airport closures, and congestion at ports as a result of the current crisis. In order to manage this disruption, there are a number of steps that businesses should consider. The first priority is to safeguard people's health, both from a corporate social responsibility perspective and to ensure business continuity. The next step is to identify key supply risks. Which materials are critical to key products? What are the raw materials required? The transport, the logistics. What is the impact of the current crisis on each of these elements? Once these are understood, businesses can look for strategies to deal with them. First of all, you can look at material flows and reconfiguring these. Secondly, look at transportation modes and networks. Other things you might want to consider is reprioritizing your supply plans, reviewing your inventory levels, and seeking out alternative sources of supply. The current crisis has particular impacts given Australia's strong trading links with China. China is our number one trading partner. It is both the source of most of our raw materials and the leading destination for our exports. What's more, Wuhan is traditionally a strong manufacturing centre with many exports to Australia. The closures of factories in Wuhan and other industrial centres in China have produced major impacts for Australian business. Australian businesses have become accustomed to having reliable supply from China, so the current crisis has big implications for those businesses who rely on Chinese imports. Up until now, some businesses may not have considered supply chain risk as a number one priority for their businesses. There is now a new situation. Supply chain resilience should be a number one priority for Australian businesses who deal with China. The first priority is to understand what are those risks. Which suppliers are critical to us? What is our current situation in terms of demand, contractual liability, and inventory? Next, you should look at some short-term strategies to manage the crisis. Look at alternative sources of supply, including looking at regions within China that are less impacted by the crisis. As Chinese factories begin to restart production, it may be possible to buy time. For example, delaying orders, running down inventory, or renegotiating contracts. Longer term, businesses should conduct a full assessment of their supply chain risks and build up a more resilient supply chain. For example, building collaboration with key suppliers, examining backup options. You may also wish to spread your risk by looking at other regional locations. And you should definitely look at improving your intel on the current situation and future developing events so that you can make plans in order to respond to these quickly. The ultimate goal should be to build a proactive supply chain that is able to identify early warnings of risks before they happen. For example, try to identify geopolitical risks early on and adapt a response in advance. The impact of COVID-19 is causing the current disruption. However, future challenges are probably already brewing. Although the future is uncertain, fortune favours the prepared. It's true that there is a lot of risk and disruption at the moment, but we should remember that the ports in China are still open, products are still getting into the Chinese market, businesses are still able to import essential goods and materials from Chinese suppliers. Also remember that everyone's in this together. Customers are seeing the same problems you are. So talk to your customers, find a way, and keep delivering products because businesses will find a way to keep going.